LinkedIn Echo Chamber. We're back with Michelle Wong. Michelle, welcome back. You're here today to talk about digital marketing.
Yeah, sounds good.
So we've had some conversations before. You were telling us about econometrics. You were telling us about recommender algorithms. But this time I wanted to get a bit closer to the action on the marketing side. So you were at Expedia. I think this is a company that everyone will know, but I'd love for you to talk about what they're doing, how big they are, huge company, and then really into this bidding algorithm space. So what is it? Why did you need it? What type of data did you need, and so on and so forth. So start with the Expedia story, Michelle. What were you doing there?
Yeah, so Expedia, for those who don't know, is an online travel agency. So you can go on their website or on the app, and then you can book things like flight tickets, hotel rooms, car rentals, cruise ships, vacations. So different things related to travel, basically. So when I was there, I was working on analytics. There I was, and then especially with the bidding algorithm side of things, most of my team was then focused on more the experimentation side. So we've got different bidding algorithms. How do we test them? So we set up different test and control environments to see which bidding algorithm works better versus the other. So let me just go back.
Michelle, yeah, what are we even bidding on? Let's get into it.
Yeah, let me go back. So I think let me start with how paid ads work on Google search. So I'm going to simplify it a bit. So when a user types into Google search bar, whatever you're looking for, results that come back, you end up with a listings page. There's paid ads on the top, usually has the word sponsored next to it and is somewhat highlighted in that sense. And then below that's organic listings. So these are unpaid ads. So when you're on the paid ads on the top, companies are generally bidding for these positions in an auction every time that a customer is then searching. And for simplification, the company that's willing to pay the most is most likely to be at the top. There are other factors which affect this, but I'm just going to keep that simple there. And then the higher you are up in the listings, the more likely you are to be clicked by a user. And that's why businesses are willing to bid higher up into the listings in that sense. So there's a whole, as I mentioned, there's a whole sort of bidding system to bid for these sponsored ads. So what a bidding algorithm does is that it basically predicts how different bid amounts affect a goal, and then it sets the bids to optimize towards that goal. So it really depends on your business in terms of what the goal is. So you can maximize conversions if that's important to you, but majority of times I've seen people are optimizing towards ROAS, which is return on ad spend, so ROI on the advertising spend. So this is all just done automatically because companies are bidding on hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of keywords at certain points in time. So you can't really do it on a manual basis in that way. So it is machine learning in its regard then.
So you've probably given us some clues as to the workings of this, I think, there. So there's kind of the different keywords themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You said at any one time. So there's probably like this, time of day, and probably there's a competitive picture then. So Expedia, this big travel aggregator, and there's more than one of them. So they're all after the same searches and after the same customers. So talk us through, I've given you probably half the answer, but please expand on that. Like, is this the right way of thinking of it in terms of input data? What variables would you be using to run a bidding algorithm? And just to clear it up, so if you didn't have the bidding algorithm, the main risk there is you have to guess. You have to just say, hey, I want to pay £10 for a customer today, and you could horrifically overpay, and therefore your ROAS and your ROIs are just destroyed. This type of problem.
Yeah, correct. Because if you're thinking about it, when you're searching on Google, how many times do you search? You're searching quite a lot each day. If you think about the entire population who's on Google or any other search engine, they multiply. There's loads of searches happening at one point in time. So, and there's different factors, as you mentioned, that can take into account. It could be location, it could be the device that you're on. So these are different information that you take into account in the model to tailor it. So the main thing you'd look at is sort of what we call the auction data. So each time you're searching, it enters an auction. So we take that data, usually comes from Google. We've got things like our internal performance data. It's not something that we generally release to third parties. So we tie that back together. And then, like I mentioned, then the other signals that we want to take into account based on our business. So it could be the audience types, or like I mentioned, device and location. And that's just to help them make the predictions more accurate for us to be able to hit and optimize our target in that way.
So I thought of a question, Michelle, then. So it sounds like you're sort of saying there's these multiple data sources. You know, a pain point in anything with data is always like, is my damn data in the right place and all together in the most timely way? So give us a bit of insight from Expedia. Was there some kind of platform that you had or that you built that made all of what you just said happen like it was in a rocket? Or actually, to run bidding algorithm, is it a bit more like fetching stuff, stitching stuff, and sort of continuously trying to build the data you need to make better decisions? Like how slick was all that?
I would say not slick initially, because a lot of the data, like Farfetch is Expedia is I guess this company who's been around for quite a bit of time now. So there's legacy. So there's as time has gone on, we've like technology has improved. So you've got data in different systems, and you can get it from, you can get the same data in a few different systems as well. So it's not in the same place. So eventually we move towards more cloud solutions. So I would say there's engineering involved to bring all the data sources into one place. Or data lake in that sense, and then we can start doing something with building these algorithms over time.
And then a question that we didn't prepare for, because you said experimentation at the start. So can you tell us a bit more about this in that algorithm team? So are they trying to have a little competition in that team about, like, if I tweak variable X and you tweak variable Y, do we increase our goal conversion, whatever would it be? So, like, is that something that you had? Was that a process that was running in those groups?
So there's different ones. You've got ones which is like you got sort of, so not on the shelf, but Google creates their own algorithms as well. So you can just use one of theirs. So you're one trying to make sure you're better than Google in that sense. Who doesn't want to be? And then, yes, we do other bidding algorithms internally to test out different methodologies and see which one works better for us. Because also, just to say Google changes the game now and again. So they may add new signals or and improve their auction, because they want to make sure there's the search results that come back to the customer are relevant to that customer. So the game tweaks over time. So we're always trying to make sure that we're optimizing as things move as well. So with experimentation, actually it's quite difficult for us to do it on a true A/B test, because at a customer level, because we need to do that at auction level, which is done by Google, and then tie that back to internal data, which is very hard to do. So what we do internally for us, with a lot of experimentation, we do that option, which is collaborating with the likes of Google to get that information. But we also do things internally around like sort of geo experimentations and things like that, so that we can understand difference between the performance of different bidding algorithms.
So you compare UK to France or something, and that's one way you get a bit of insight.
Yeah, well, some of the ones that we've done is that we split the US into 52 states. So we can do all of that, and then we can do different combinations. But we obviously find the like for like states per se, and then use different combinations to run the tests.
And give us a bit of insight as to the group that would do this. This is becoming a favourite question of mine, really. So what I'm trying to get to when we go into these use cases and how does data science work, is a bit of insight as to what it takes to get this done. So at Expedia, did you have 1,000 people working on this, or was it 10, or was it 100, Michelle? I'd love to know, like, your what group does it take to really do it for such a big brand?
So actually, we started off with one person one data scientist focused on bidding. And then, I mean, this is just on the modeling itself. There's data engineers in the background as well, helping us with the data, but I can't say, because I think it's just in their workflow rather than people dedicated to it in that way. And then over time it grew, so that could be about 5 people in that way to build out different bidding algorithms so we could test different ones. And in Expedia there was not just bidding on, say, Google, there's bidding on other search engines, and there's also bidding on other sites as well, such as Trivago, for example. So they have a different way to bid, like different auctions, but similar concepts. So that's where the bidding team came into play.
And Michelle, I never worked in this area, so I'm going to try and play this back to you. So Google have their own bidding algorithm you can use. So I could be a data scientist, set that off and just say, hey, the algorithm is running and my boss would be super happy with me. But really it's the Google one. So the case for doing it internally and having people do it in-house, would it be that, you know, there's just different goal data? So like Google always knows the clicks and knows the positions of the searches and God knows what you're going for there. Would the case for doing it internally be, you talked about ROAS. So would you, the internal case is obviously got more data probably to then study, you know, the effect of a visitor with coming from that bid. Am I thinking of it correctly? So would you be able to say, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out how to bid and then associate customer lifetime value to it? Or, you know, how can we get customers that we then retain better, or they buy more from us, or they come more directly in the future? Is this the sort of reason that you would have a team doing it in-house?
Correct. Yeah, we were actually moving towards lifetime value by the time I left Expedia. And the other side of it is that you've got more information on the customer as well. So, you know, customer comes in with a certain search intent, but as they're on the site and moving through the site, and then whatever they end up purchasing, we've got all of that information as well. So they may not even purchase what they originally intended to come on the site with. So we take into all of this information into the algorithm as well.
Good. Well, Michelle, it's good news and bad news. The good news for you and for everybody is that you confirmed that I do know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. 23 years experience. Look, I didn't even work at Expedia and I figured out how it worked and how it could be optimized. So that's good news. Michelle, but we're out of time now. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for all your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, this is ML's Like Teen Spirit.